sleep in a field, or you can stay lost for a long time, and I did not think we were ever going to catch him.
We're here today to announce that Rafael Resendez Ramirez has been elevated.
I memorized his face. I memorized he had a tattoo on his arm.
The surrender was voluntary, and it's something that he did on his own, and it was also the wishes of his family.
And he doesn't interact with them. He goes in and he kills them.
Railroad Slayer. Angel Maturino Resendez, known infamously as the Railroad Slayer, was a Mexican serial slayer who terrorized both the United States and Mexico throughout the 1990s. Suspected in up to 23 slayings, some of which involved physical attack, Resendez has earned his Macabre moniker due to the proximity of his crimes to railroads, often utilizing trains to traverse the country. Born Angel Leoncio Reyes Resendez in Izúcar de Matamoros, Puebla, Mexico, Resendez's early life provided no indication of the horror he would later inflict upon countless victims. His criminal journey was marked by his ability to nimbly navigate between Mexico, Canada, and the United States, illicitly hopping on and off trains and surreptitiously crossing borders. Records indicate that he had been deported from the US to Mexico at least 4 times after his initial entry in 1973. Resendez's method of slaying was chillingly brutal. He bludgeoned at least 15 individuals to demise, employing crude weapons like rocks and pickaxe, often within the confines of their own homes.
It was so loud. I said, what a perfect cover.
At some point in Resendez's career, I believe that he made the conscious decision.
It wasn't an accident that all of these people were asleep when he attacked. He would watch them, wait for them to go to sleep.
Guy, it's over. Everybody can pack their bags and go home. Well, that's far, far from the truth.
Shockingly, just over 3 weeks later, Resendez surrendered to Texas authorities on July 13, 1999. Following his apprehension, Resendez faced trial in Texas, where he was convicted of capital slaying. His heinous act culminated in his ending by lethal injection in 2006, bringing an end to a reign of terror that had spanned nearly a decade. The chilling legacy of Angel Maturino Resendez endures as a reminder of the depths of human malevolence and the unwavering determination of law enforcement to bring such perpetrators to justice.
Real dangerous, very dangerous, a real violent person. We need to get him off the street.
Been involved with this case from early on. I was familiar with what Mr. Resendez.
Definitely easily back in Mexico. And we just had no clue whatsoever.
Victims. Between 1986 and 1999, Angel Maturino Resendez, infamously known as the Railroad Slayer, left a trail of brutal slayings across various states in the United States. His victims met tragic ends in horrifying circumstances. In 1986, an unidentified woman in Bexar County, Texas, fell victim into Resendez's violence. Shot 4 times, she was found in an abandoned farmhouse, a grim testament to the brutality she endured. Resendez claimed to have met her at a homeless shelter, but the encounter took a sinister turn during a motorcycle trip. He confessed to slaying her, attributing it to a perceived disrespect.
You know, I was thinking, if you have any scars, I'm going to remember your scars. I'm going to remember your face. I'm not going to forget it.
West University Police Department had done some pretty good research and found out that this guy...
We start thinking, okay, well, you could have our credit cards, you can have our ATM cards, you could have our car.
Her remains were discovered in March 1986. Another unidentified man suffered a similar fate in Bexar County, Texas, also in 1986. Allegedly the boyfriend of the previous victim, Resendez asserted that the man's involvement in black magic led to his violent demise. His body, however, has never been found, leaving his identity shrouded in mystery. In 1991, Michael White, a 22-year-old, met a brutal end in San Antonio, Texas. Bludgeoned to demise with a brick, his lifeless body was discovered in the yard of an abandoned house. Resendez's motive, as he confessed in September 2001, was rooted in prejudice, claiming that he killed White due to his physical orientation. The year 1997 witnessed the tragic demise of Jesse Howell and Wendy Von Huben in Ocala, Florida. Jesse, 19 years old, was mercilessly bludgeoned to demise by Resendez, and his body was left near the railroad tracks. Resendez claimed that the couple's perceived anti-Christian beliefs motivated their slayings. Wendy, 16 years old, faced an even more horrifying fate, enduring physical misconduct, strangulation, and suffocation with duct tape. Her body was buried in a shallow grave. Roberto Castro, age 54, was a potential victim in Colton, California in 1997. Although not officially charged, Resendez remained a prime suspect in this case. Castro met a tragic end, beaten to demise with a piece of plywood in a rail yard. Christopher Mayer, a 21-year-old University of Kentucky student, faced a violent demise in 1997 in Lexington, Kentucky. He was bludgeoned to demise by Resendez with a 52-pound rock. Tragically, his girlfriend Holly Dunn Pendleton, the only known survivor of an attack by Resendez, suffered severe beatings and physical misconduct. The list of victims continues with Leafy Mason, Fannie Whitney Byers, Claudia Benton, Norman J. Cernick, Karen Cernick, Naomi Dominguez, Josephine Convica, George Morber Sr., and Carolyn Frederick. Each of them met a tragic end, their lives cut short by Resendez's brutal and senseless act of violence. These horrifying events serve as a chilling reminder of the darkness that can exist in the human psyche. Arrest and Trial. Angel Maturino Resendez's apprehension followed a series of events involving his arrest and deportation by the U.S. Border Patrol. Following his return to Mexico, Resendez's sister, Manuela, alarmed by the potential for further violence, contacted the police after seeing her brother on the FBI's Most Wanted poster. This led to a critical meeting on a bridge connecting El Paso, Texas and Ciudad Juarez, Chihuahua on July 12, 1999. Texas Ranger Drew Carter, along with Kimberly Barkhausen from the FBI, Manuela, and a spiritual guide, confronted Resendez. It was at this moment that Resendez chose to surrender to Carter. However, during a subsequent court appearance, Resendez accused Carter of perjury, contending that his family believed he would be spared the demise penalty.
Most of the time when we work homicides, they're individual incidents that
Takes Chris by the shirt and he pulls Chris. I can see it on Chris's face that he's in pain.
And he doesn't interact with him. He goes in and he kills him.
I memorized his face. I memorized he had a tattoo on his arm.
Former Texas Attorney General Jim Maddox expressed his hope that Resendez would not become a scapegoat for crimes merely in proximity to railroad tracks. This sentiment underscores the need for a thorough and meticulous examination of the evidence, ensuring that Resendez was held accountable for the crimes he committed, rather than being unfairly implicated in others. Resendez's arrest and subsequent legal proceedings marked a critical juncture in the pursuit of justice for the victims and their families. It was imperative that due process be followed and Resendez's actions be evaluated within the framework of the law. The complexity surrounding his apprehension and subsequent court appearances underscored the gravity of the crimes he was accused of and the significance of ensuring a fair and just trial. Mexican government response. In response to Angel Maturino Resendez's sentence to demise in Texas, his defense attorney, in collaboration with Mexican Consul General in Houston, Rodolfo Figueroa Aramoni, and the other Mexican government representatives, worked jointly to negotiate with the state of Texas for Resendez's extradition to Mexico.
We are here today to announce that Rafael Resendez Ramirez has been elevated.
Sleep in a field, or you can stay lost for a long time, and I did not think we were ever going to catch him.
I didn't know. This really meant, I think, when he surrendered, that I knew.
So much pain and so much heartache and so much terror that that's what the whole focus of the trial.
The surrender was voluntary and is something that he did on his own, and it was also the wishes of his family.
Their aim was to spare Resendez from facing the demise penalty. In 2016, Mexican presidential spokesman Ruben Aguilar held a press conference during which he stated that Mexican Foreign Relations Secretary Luis Ernesto Derbez had reached out to then Texas Governor Rick Perry to appeal for clemency for Maturino Resendiz. Aguilar emphasized their belief that the demise penalty offered no real resolution to the situation. Despite these efforts, Resendiz was ultimately sentenced to demise by a Texas court on May 22, 2000. The Mexican government's involvement in advocating for Resendiz's clemency underscores their opposition to the demise penalty and their commitment to securing the rights and well-being of their citizens, even in cases of heinous crimes committed abroad. Their efforts exemplify a diplomatic approach to safeguarding human rights, particularly in situations involving capital punishment. Ending. Angel Maturino Resendiz, despite an ongoing appeal with the 5th U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals, received a demise warrant for the slaying of Claudia Benton. He was held in the Polunsky unit in West Livingston, Texas, awaiting an ending. On June 27, 2006, he was executed by lethal injection in the Huntsville unit, Huntsville, Texas. In his final statement, Resendiz expressed a plea for forgiveness, acknowledging the influence of evil in his life and expressing gratitude for God's patience. He acknowledged the pain he had caused and recognized the underserved suffering of the victim's family. Resendiz passed away at 8:05 p.m. CDT on June 27, 2006. Claudia Benton's husband, George, was present at the ending. He characterized Resendiz as a manifestation of evil in human form, devoid of a soul, conscience, remorse, or respect for the sanctity of human life. This sentiment reflects the profound impact of Resendiz's heinous acts on the lives of those affected, as well as the strong emotions evoked by his ending. That's all for this video, folks. See you next time.